I mean that's what cats do. They're just jerks.
Yeah.
Pippin's like, this show is mine, right? He's like, this show is for me, right?
No, it's not.
Are we live right now?
Here we are.
We are totally live, and so here comes the 75 minutes worth of ads I have to play. So
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
Hey, you dorks, this is Gunnar Hansen, Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and you are listening to The Dorkening.
Hi, I'm Brian Johnson, and although you probably accidentally stumbled across it and have no idea why you're watching it, you are in fact watching The Dorkening.
Hello, this is Tom Kenny, voice actor, the voice of the Ice King on Adventure Time, and SpongeBob SquarePants. Ah, meow. Oh, Gary the Snail, too. Hey, guess what you're filling your eye holes and ear holes with? The Dorkening! Oh, I love the Dorkening. Very popular in Ooh. And Bikini Bottom.
Hi, I'm Lou Ferrigno. You're watching The Dorkening. And you know what? You don't like me when I get angry, so they're gonna be angry. You better keep watching the Dorkening.
Hey guys, this is Felissa Rose, and you're watching The Dorkening.
Hey guys, it's Courtney Palm. We're shooting Death House, and you're watching The Dorkening.
This is Anthony Michael Hall, and you're watching The Dorkening. Stay tuned, my friend's going to show you what entertainment's all about, baby.
The Dorkening.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Rise and shine, my sinners. When Father Evil starts his day, he gets a little deadly. Deadly Grounds coffee has the richest, smoothest flavor you'll find anywhere. It's sinfully delicious. Once you go deadly, you never go back. Order yours at getdeadly.com. Coffee's so good, it's scary.
All right, I think that's it. Here we go. There we go. Hello, everybody. It is not Leo. Leo has gone to a better place, more spiritual place, a place where he needs a little rest and relaxation. So I am, as he would say, the monkey behind the keyboards. So I apologize for some of the duplication of the things because Leo doesn't really label things right, but we got our full cavalcade of dorks on the show. So with that, let me introduce one of our first our normal hosts, Mr. Steven. Welcome.
Hello, everyone.
And then the schmuck.
Wow. Hi, guys. Holy shit. Happy Wednesday, everybody. I'm Powerful Brandon, and tonight I guess I'll be fucking myself.
See, Brandon, I wouldn't have got the reaction from a Steven and his girlfriend and you.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I guess the ends justified the means, you asshole.
So with that, I know I said a couple weeks ago that I was not going to be on. My baby has not arrived yet, and Leo is Leo is currently down for the count for a little bit. So we do wish Leo a speedy recovery. Hopefully he'll be back with us next week. But for the time being, I felt in talking the rest of the show, the show must go on, as they say. So Leo can watch and give us notes and yell at us. Leo, less ads. Like you have them labeled like 3 different types. I just needed one, not like them broken down by individual things.
3 different types, like good, medium, bad.
Well, no, it's like Deadly Grounds ad, Deadly Grounds ad, rock intro, intro.
There's no differentiation between which Deadly Grounds ad it is either. Just like, hey, this is a Deadly Grounds ad. Okay, and what's this one? Oh, that's also a Deadly Grounds ad.
Longer.
Yeah. How do I know which one is which? Oh, you fucking don't. Just play them all.
Got to give us that money, baby. Come on, give us those that sponsorship. Let's go. Woo-hoo. But with that, guys, we definitely wanted to keep the show going. There has been a lot of pop culture news in the last week or so. Mm-hmm. So I definitely want to start off with some of the news that we shared on the thing and I think this is huge news because Netflix canceling a show one season into it.
Okay. What you're talking about is Jupiter's Legacy, right?
Yes.
The Mark Miller comic that was adapted because he has an exclusive deal with Netflix to produce all of his IPs as shows or movies or whatever. I fucking laughed hysterically when I read the news, not because it was like, oh, fucking idiots or anything like that. I laughed because it's just like when Mark Miller makes fucking comic books. I mean, Jupiter's Legacy as a comic was released in like one volume, and he was like, don't worry, volume 2 is coming, gang. Don't you worry. All right, cool. We're in for it, man. Let's do it. Let's do it. He was like, but right now I'm going to give you Jupiter's Circle, the prequel to the story you started reading but haven't finished. What?
It's like George R.R. Martin with a sequel to Game of Thrones. Oh, it's coming! It's coming! It's coming!
Well, I mean, I will say, Miller. He did finish it, but it was like it's one thing to be like, oh, it's coming eventually, and another thing to be like, oh, you guys are gonna love the end of this story. The end of the story is so great. It's gonna be showing up eventually. Oh man, we're working so hard on it. But instead of that, we're gonna give you all the stories about the old people that you already saw killed in the other story. What the? Okay, man. Cool. And I just get the feeling that with Netflix, if you read the actual announcement from like Mark Miller, he says we're just not doing it right now. It doesn't mean we're not doing it. We're just gonna get to it eventually. And like so exactly like every comic book you write. Great.
So, I mean, is Jupiter? I haven't watched it yet. I actually Lucifer just started back up, so that's.
It does not end with a resolution. It totally ends on like there's definitely more story to come forward.
Again, like a Mark Miller.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the season. I enjoyed it. It was
So here's the question I'll pose to the group then. You have the Marvel universe, you have the DC universe, you had the boys that are already in season 3, and then you have Jupiter's Legacy.
Yep.
If Jupiter's Legacy came out before, say, the boys, do you think it would have been a bigger draw? Because I mean, this is now the second. It's literally like the Comet movies or the Volcano movies would like theaters would put out in the 90s. Is this just Netflix's? It's an edgy superhero comic book adaptation, it's going to be ours, like the boys is to Amazon. Like, is it just one of those, like, we already have one of those?
I'll let Steve take this one first.
I agree with James with that question, because back in the 90s with those Comet and Volcano movies, it was like, oh, anything you can do, I can do better. And I think that's what they're doing with Jupiter's Legacy and the boys. Like, different studios are doing their superhero movies while DC and Marvel are fighting for contention. But yeah, that's pretty much the big measuring contest with two studios. So whichever one you prefer is up to the viewer. Haven't seen The Boys yet. Haven't seen Jupiter's Legacy. So
I got through the first season of The Boys. I haven't started season 2 yet. I felt like I binged season 1 one day while training for a week or when I was training at work. I kind of had this in the background, and I saw like enough clips on like Facebook and stuff to kind of get the gist, and like that's kind of what got me into it. But yeah, I mean, I Jupiter's Legacy never really spoke to me. Like I never was like, I gotta see this show on Netflix. I was like, oh, it's another team up, like family superheroes with dealing with human issues. Okay.
Kinda. I mean, it's not really sort of dealing with human issues, but like more like it's parallel to the rest of what's happening. It's mostly issues that stem from them being superhuman, so it's not really like oh man, I'm dealing with stuff that any guy would have to deal with, and I have superpowers. It's not like the main like Superman archetype guys. Like, I'm like 110 years old and I can't figure out how to make my fucking kid a better superhero. It's like, There's not a lot of relating going on there. That's not really an everyman character, you know? Like, oh yeah, man, I get it. My kid just won't be fucking Spider-Man either. I totally get it.
So you're telling me this is like Sky High?
Oh my god, I fucking wish. I love that movie. Oh, I love that movie to death. So many reasons too. Like Kurt Russell finally makes another Disney movie. So many different comedians from two different alternative comedy shows on HBO. You had players from both Kids in the Hall and Mr. Show with Bob and David. I mean, just Broken Lizard, for crying out loud, because Kevin Heffernan shows up in it. But regardless of that, it's not anything like Sky High. I mean, there are legacies involved, so there. I mean, you could say like there's a similarity in that respect.
I mean, also you're forgetting the biggest person that's in that movie that you did not even mention.
Bruce Campbell.
There you go.
Come on, son.
And
Coach Boomer.
And
failure. What's that?
And Linda Carter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I fucking remember. Principal Powers. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, your hand remembers too.
Dude, you and I watch Disney movies in a very different way, apparently.
No, I just said Linda Carter. You want Principal Powers. You want the Disney.
You said my fucking hand was tired. Why would my hand be tired, James?
I didn't say it was tired. I said it remembers.
All right. You're technically correct, which is the best kind of correct. So good job. But no, here's the thing. I actually think Jupiter's Legacy would be going on to a second season if it had two things. One, better advertising, and two, being on something other than Netflix. Because right now, as far as streaming goes, Netflix has sort of become like the RC Cola of that world. Whereas like you're starting to see like who's fighting it out. Who we have is Coke and Pepsi. And I mean Disney Plus is way up there just for what they've been producing for new content, you know. And then you have your basics, which is still owned by Disney, of course, Hulu, and I mean HBO Max. Who knows what the fuck is going on with that? But Amazon also has some pretty good competition. And with, you know, what you were saying, Amazon has both Invincible and The Boys, and both of those were received incredibly well. So I don't think it's necessarily fatigue. It's just lack of awareness.
Yeah.
Well, and I always feel like that, and I think that's a Netflix problem now, is you don't know anything's coming out until like 2 weeks before it comes out. Like,
Well, not only that, there's no gauge for what's happening with Netflix shows. That's why every single time they announce like a cancellation, like today, everyone gets blindsided by it. Like, whoa, like we had no idea, you know. And that's the thing about shows on traditional television and what have you. I mean, there are numbers that you can actually refer to that give you a clear indication how well a show is doing. And
well, yeah, I was gonna say, go ahead, Steve.
What they used to do with Netflix, and I don't know if they do it anymore, like places like IGN and all these publications used to do like a listing of things that are leaving Netflix this month. Things that are coming to Netflix next month. I know Bloody Disgusting does. Here's what's coming to Shudder next month. Here's what's leaving Shudder next month.
I know ComingSoon.net does still the coming and goings of all the streaming services.
Yeah, you can definitely find those lists. I've seen them. I just never really pay that much attention to them because honestly, like it's gotten to the point where Netflix, the vast majority of their offerings is just like the shit that you wouldn't want to fucking watch anyway. So
and that's
that's more Tubi. Tubi has like the stuff you don't.
I'll see your Tubi and I'll raise you Pluto TV.
Actually, Pluto TV has.
I'll give you crap.
Oh, all right. James wins. I mean, we all kind of lost there, but James wins.
I'm the worst. I'm the best loser.
You're the best loser, buddy.
Well, no, I know, and I'm with that. Like I said, like, and it feels like Netflix was so ahead of the game. They haven't changed how they did business, and everybody else has caught up to them and then surpassed them.
Yeah.
And it's like they're like, what did we do? And like, you know, so Sweet Tooth comes out this Friday.
Yeah.
Again, a property I know nothing about.
See, I know all of these properties. I read the series Sweet Tooth from Vertigo. I read The Boys. I read Jupiter's Legacy. I read Invincible. I'm vastly familiar with all of it. And I liked the comic book Sweet Tooth, and I have zero desire to see this fucking show.
Now, you guys are talking about Sweet Tooth, the comic book character. When you guys are talking about the show, I thought it was like the origin of the character from Twisted Metal.
That is coming, though. I think that's coming. That's a real movie coming out, I think.
Is it?
Yeah, they were trying to do a Twisted Metal movie for years.
From Sony? Is it going to be Sony?
Probably.
So.
Or whoever buys Sony soon.
We'll see. We'll see.
Well, I thought that was funny. I kind of switched gears for a second. That after MGM got bought, Sony released a press statement says we are not for sale.
Yeah, because dinks like you keep saying Sony's going to get sold soon.
Just sell their IPs. Just sell them.
Listen, they're not going to sell any Marvel shit. We've been over this. There's a clause in the contract.
To piggyback with that, there was.
That's right. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Steve.
Marvel said that the Spider-Man movie, or there's going to be something down the line where Marvel and Sony are going to merge the Spider-Man stuff together.
Use the acronyms, man. The MCU is going to merge with the Spunk. I'm not making that up, gang. It's the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and Spunk, the Sony Pictures universe of Marvel characters. But seriously, call it Spunk. Do it.
It was Spunk. It sounds
Spunk.
like
it sounds like it's like a new scent that's a combination of like pumpkin and spam.
There you go. Spunkin.
Spunk.
Well, no.
Why throw up when I can just spray it in the air?
No, it was because that was something else that like because the president of Sony, whoever that guy was, in the press release said like this is our last collaboration with Marvel with Spider-Man for the time being. He said, and then but this is opening up the shared universe, concept, and I'm like.
Yeah.
No,
well,
just don't.
Let's
please.
just see what happens after
No Way Home.
No Way Home and Doctor Strange.
No Way Out.
Yeah, No Way Out, starring Kevin Costner as Uncle Ben.
No, it was a Spider-Man's in your house. No Way Home.
I understood that reference.
Yep. But yeah, but again, Spider-Man, is the big news today. I mean, there's been rumors, and again, this is a Reddit-free show. So Leo, again, text me later. There'll be no Reddit. Nothing.
I don't think any of us scoured Reddit anyway, right? Like,
so I know. There's been rumors that the Batman trailer was dropping today, right during the NBA, or was it
playoffs,
or was it because there's been rumblings of a Marvel trailer dropping this week.
Yep.
Yeah, people kept thinking that it was going to be yesterday because it was Tom Holland's birthday, exactly. And to that I say, pa. That's ridiculous. Like, oh, they're going to release it on his birthday. Yeah, I'm sure that's of like huge importance to all those folks over there at Sony and Disney. We should drop this on Tommy's birthday. He would really love that. Get the fuck out of here.
Give me the Uncharted trailer on his birthday, please. So I can be like, you're not Nolan North.
Well, they dropped the Eternals trailer at random last week.
Well, Marvel's always good at dropping trailers randomly because that's how they get the news cycle.
Yep.
They'll drop it at 9 because either they'll drop it randomly or they drop it with like Good Morning America. Like that's when they normally do like
trailer bomb.
Or they'll do it at a halftime at an NFL game.
NFL game or NBA playoffs or something, yeah. Because you need that synergy between all the corporations.
That's why when Leo posted the Batman trailer thing, I have those trailers during the playoff games clocked because usually it's either during the halftime special or in the second quarter, second half of the game.
Yeah, I mean that is usually how it goes because it works. It works for everybody. Like, hey, if you just watch for the trailer, you're gonna stick around for the second half of the game, or at least turn it on. Yeah. And if you're watching the game, you're definitely gonna stick around for the trailer as well, anyway. So, it's just pulling in more people all together, and that way you see more ads than just the trailer you were looking for.
All the fan made trailers that you see posted up. It does give me the chuckles.
I don't know. I'm just excited about the 5 billionth Batman movie, guys.
No.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't
like I
think
said,
anyone-
Listen, I like Batman. I just think that there's, it's getting to the point where it's so fucking done, man. Like, isn't that well getting just a little dry and starting to see clay at the bottom of it?
Well, for me, and I've always said it on multiple shows, is I don't mind reboots. I don't mind reimaginings of stories, characters, stuff like that, because I'm always curious about another artist's interpretation of a property. Like I said, for me, and I've always said it, and this is what I've always said, especially about like the 2016 Ghostbusters movie. And I use that as my example, is if you take that movie and show that being like, this is a Ghostbusters movie with no other reference points from it, in a vacuum, it's a very good movie. It stands on its own. It's like, but when you know the history behind that movie and the two movies that came forward in the animated series, of course it's going to be a watered down product between what is actually like the better of the movies, which was the first one, even the second one to a point. But like in a vacuum in itself, the 2016 Ghostbusters is, in my opinion, still a good comedy. It's still funny. It has really funny women in it. It's funny writing. And it's just, it's a Ghostbusters movie. That's why I didn't mind it. Same thing with like Charlie and Chocolate Factory. I didn't mind the Tim Burton Charlie and Chocolate Factory because I was like, oh, I like what he did there. You saw the aftermath. You saw more of what the book was. You saw what happened to the kids. You didn't see that in the Gene Wilder version. But again, the Gene Wilder version is such an iconic movie. Comparing anything to it, it was always going to pale in comparison. And again, it's like you have to sometimes take these remakes and reboots and kind of put them by themselves and be like, okay, look at it as a movie telling a story. And how does it hold up?
It's kind of those are kind of strange examples to butt up against one another, though, because you're talking about one property that's based off of / semi-continuing from what was established in the 80s with 2 movies versus a movie that's an actual direct adaptation of a book that also had a popular musical adaptation, and that's what everybody knows. So like, it's because Tim Burton, like you said,
I was comparing this. I was just using, those are the 2 movies I use as my examples, being like, as a reboot or a remake, those are the 2 in my brain that stand out the most because they're so different from their original counterparts, but they still tell a good story.
Yeah, but I mean, in regards to like numerous Batman movies, that would be all well and good if you had numerous other movies too. They keep going back to Batman though. That's what's getting tiresome. It's like, give us a fucking break. There's so much other stuff that could be done. And I don't mean big super powered aliens like Superman or anything. I mean, there's plenty of other characters that are like, ground level heroes, like rough and tumble, gritty. You don't need to fucking always go to Batman for that shit. There's no need.
No, 100%,
like I would,
but again,
like the question, you're gonna tell me that wouldn't be a fucking badass detective movie? Like that could be really fucking cool. But no, instead, we're gonna get 3 fucking movies with Robert Pattinson as Batman. Not that I have a problem with him. I'm not saying it like that. It's just how many different iterations before we get like the rest of what their stable of characters even kind of developed. Like, it's insane.
Oh, no, and you're right with that. But again, it's Warner Brothers not willing to take a chance. They're not willing to take a risk like Marvel did and Disney did with Guardians of the Galaxy, what they're doing with the Eternals, with some of these characters from Marvel, Moon Knight, She-Hulk, some of these B, C level superheroes, and putting them on a platform in which we'll see if people take to it. We're going to keep using our formula, see what's going on, and go from there. Because I was joking around with Jen. I was like, WandaVision. Who in their right mind after seeing Endgame was like, I'm looking forward in a show with Wanda and Vision. It was going to be surprisingly very good, and and something that I was like much watch TV. Because
I as soon as it was announced and I saw a tiny bit of it, I was like, oh yeah, I'm on board. Like, yeah, no, I was excited.
But that was a risk they took, being like, okay, we're going to take these 2 characters, which aren't a Iron Man that aren't a Captain America, a Thor. They're A tier level.
Yeah, but at the same time, they were established. They were still presences in the movies up until that point. You just hadn't had a focal point on them. So now this was their chance to put them in the spotlight. They still gave them a chance in movies. That is the biggest part. It's not like they're taking someone willy-nilly and giving them a show outright. Like, we haven't quite seen that yet. The first time we're really going to come up on that is with She-Hulk.
I think it's going to be Miss Marvel.
No, She-Hulk, right?
But Miss Marvel comes at the end of this year.
Oh, does it? Okay, yeah. So it's going to be Miss Marvel. Yeah,
so you have Kate Bishop and Miss Marvel coming out at the end of the year.
Yeah. So that's somebody who's a character we've never seen before, like headlining their own story. But everything else is sort of like, once again, like the primer to get us into the mindset of what a Disney Plus MCU series would be. So by the time we get to Miss Marvel, I'm sure that everything's going to be well established and everyone's going to be comfortable with going to see a new character in a series that they hadn't seen in a movie previously. They really tested the waters with Monica in WandaVision in that respect.
Yeah.
By taking like
decent.
Exactly. Like, hey, let's really introduce her in this show and basically like make her the second lead, and they juxtapose back and forth between Wanda and Monica, and it worked. It worked really well. And that to them was another like box checked off. Like, oh, look, we can definitely introduce characters that people are not necessarily familiar with. They'll go along for the ride.
Exactly, and I brought that up a couple episodes back too, and I mean, like, I never, and I thought it was very interesting, and I'm surprised that, the Disney machine that wasn't made as more of a focal point is during that time you had 3 leading ladies carrying a show.
Yeah,
and it wasn't like
impressive.
shoved down our throats, and it was characters that we didn't know a ton about. You didn't know a ton about Agatha. You didn't know a ton about Rambo, and you knew just what they told you in the movies for Scarlet Witch. And you said they built it correctly. And you're right. I think that definitely laid the seed work for what's coming down the pipe with a lot of these B, C level characters.
And honestly, that's kind of the same thing that Sony is. I'm not saying they're going to be successful, but that they're trying to do with connecting their spunk and MCU. They're trying to establish these characters in their own solo movies, so that way, if they do merge into the MCU, there's already an established story, and they don't have to worry about working it into what the MCU is going to do. They can just have it already exist, and you've gotten rid of your introductory stuff for anything that they could be villains or secondary characters in. It's kind of brilliant, but only if they do it like well, if they do it smartly, and it's Sony, so I really don't think that's going to happen. Like, I'm curious to see what they think is going to go down. Like, doing Venom and moving on to Morbius and Craven and stuff like that. Like, listen, I honestly think Venom Let There Be Carnage is probably going to be successful regardless of how good the story is, just because people are already getting fucking nerd boners over the fact that Carnage is in it. And that's whatever. That's cool. That's what you want to see. Do your thing. Craven, Craven, I cannot for the life of me think, if you held a gun to my fucking head, I would not be able to name 3 people that I know in my life that read comics that are Spider-Man fans that have been like, oh, where's my Craven the Hunter movie? Like, I've never heard that come out of anybody's mouth ever. And I think Morbius has the best chance of being like a full-blown, like, well-rounded anti-hero film.
Yeah,
that looks very, very interesting to me. I'm intrigued, but
Also,
to see how these things might blend, because they're already working on connectedness. They have so many. Those are like just some of the ones they've announced. They still have like 6 more movies that they're talking about. That they're talking spunk, But yeah, they still have several movies that they're talking about doing that is gonna like be all the female characters from the different Spider-Man stories and stuff. I think like Gwen Stacy and so on and so forth. I even saw that they were talking about a Madam Web movie, which oh please.
And this is where it goes back to what we were just talking about, the Sony and Marvel crossing together. If they do that, that'd be a perfect example of that Sinister Six thing, because obviously, from what I hear, rumblings of Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin being the main villain in No Way Home. Alfred Molina's Doc Ock is going to be in No Way Home.
I read that. I think someone shared it or read it online. I was like, oh please give me more of that campy scenery chewing William Dafoe again. Like please.
Yeah.
That's all I need.
See, I wouldn't mind seeing Willem Dafoe do it, but at the same time, like my only thing is just if he shows up, I honestly think he should just be another reality's Norman Osborn. I think he should kind of maybe be like, I don't want to say in cahoots, but sort of lead the way for the MCU's Norman Osborn, or whoever will be Norman Osborn for both the MCU and Spunk.
Yeah.
For me, I think what would be good for the MCU, and I know Henry Osborn's such a vital villain and a vital character in Marvel, and especially in the Spider comic book run and stuff, is they already have a very good villain built up in the MCU. Give me more Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin.
Mm-hmm.
Give me more of him as Fisk.
Well, no, you got okay. Hold on. The Netflix shows are not the MCU.
No, but I'm not saying like, but still bring him him.
I agree. I want Vincent D'Onofrio to play Kingpin. I want him to play Wilson Fisk, continue on.
If they're going to do that, I mean, Charlie Cox is already
come in, so
yeah,
I mean, they're going to play with these stable of characters. It's rather to use what worked that failed than recast and go over all this again. If the characters have a connection, the fans have a connection to these characters, I'm glad they're bringing them over, because other than what the first 2 episodes of Daredevil, it never again mentions the Avengers. So it's it's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm super excited to see them actually bring Matt Murdock / Daredevil into the MCU proper, just because Daredevil has always been like one of my favorite characters from Marvel, and I mean, he's just been he was done so dirty in the movies. I mean, why on somebody at fucking Fox seriously decided to greenlight a Daredevil movie by the guy who did Grumpy and Grumpier Old Men? Go fuck yourself.
So again, I'm going to be on the minority. I actually like the Daredevil movie, but I like the director's cut of it. It's a lot longer and it's a better story.
I actually have it, but I have not seen the director's cut yet.
It fills, and a lot of times in the movie there's those like random edits and cuts, like you're in the middle of the scene. It kind of extends that.
Oh, that's cool, because I felt like that right in between, like where the beginning credits stopped and the end credits started.
But
the soundtrack is awesome.
The soundtrack's fantastic.
Evanescence.
Well, it's funny if you ever listen. I know Kevin Smith talked about it, but one of the reasons, and it was I think because Fox went to Kevin Smith to write and direct Daredevil, and he was like, I don't want to do it because he didn't want to do superhero film yet. But then he got the cameo in it as Jack Kirby.
Well, no, he did that. That all came from the fact that he wrote an 8-story arc that reintroduced the character after being dormant, called Guardian Devil. They had restarted the Daredevil comic book from Marvel Knights, and he wrote this 8-issue arc, and it's incredible. It actually makes use of I mean, I don't know, it's so old at this point, I don't know, I want to spoil it, but it makes use of a Spider-Man villain that basically, if this were in full-blown continuity, you'd be like, oh shit, like that's some world-changing stuff that just happened there. but it's a really, really good story. I will say it results in the death of a longtime Daredevil cast member who has been dead since because of the events. It was very, very good, and it re-sparked a lot of interest in Daredevil, and that's how 20th Century Fox ended up getting the rights to make a movie, because they were like, oh, who's this red-clad fellow that everybody seems to be crazy about? A blind guy that jumps off roofs? We'll buy the rights to that. No, it's not the life story to Eva Knievel. Oh well, fuck us, we'll still make it. It's.
So I mean, like I said, I don't mind it. Like I said, that was my introduction to Daredevil, and I was like, okay. And like I said, I after I found out there was a director's cut, and I actually liked the director's cut better. But like I said, I'm with you. Like I think even Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock was, it was really good casting. Like I said, the one thing that's been constant is their casting, other than Hulk, the Incredible Hulk, because they keep recasting. You miss it. But with that, we're gonna kind of transition to another Disney property. Indiana Jones in the Search for the Golden Commode starts filming this week. Or Indiana Jones and Where Am I
in
Now?
The Search for Audience's Monies.
So I posted this article in the group chat, and from what people are saying, the setting is going to be in 1960s space race, and Indy's going to be tackling Nazis once again.
Gotta go to that well.
Yeah, but
these moon rocks belong in a museum.
The thing is, and I mentioned this on our podcast when we talked about it, how in the hell can you top nuking the fridge? Is he gonna go up into space and eject out into an escape pod back to Earth? Is he gonna be in a centrifuge? Is he gonna be tied up under a rocket about to launch?
He already did the centrifuge. He did that in.
Oh yeah. Is he going to be tied up under a rocket that's about to launch, and he has to hide into a metal barrel or something?
Well, for me,
I think it's going to be incredibly low tech, Steve. He's just going to be like in a giant catapult.
I mean, something as
there should be in a museum.
You're gonna hear cartoon noises and everything. Just...
So, I know they confirmed that it was going to be in the 60s a while back, but for me, the two things, the one good thing and the one bad thing about it is, the good thing is George Lucas has nothing to do with this movie. But
the bad thing is neither does Steven Spielberg.
Yeah,
exactly.
But the good thing is John Williams is writing the score.
But for me, it's still Steven Spielberg. He just he knows how to shoot those movies.
Hold on. Like, listen, I understand that on a gut level with Indiana Jones movies, and especially, you want to be like, Steven Spielberg isn't directing it? This is going to be shit. Like, you never fucking saw Kingdom of the Crystal Skull? Oh, that cinematic masterpiece? Like, Spielberg's presence made a big difference on that one, right?
2/3 of that movie is an Indiana Jones movie. The last third of the movie is like, did they smoke pot? Like, were they doing crack cocaine? Like,
exactly. And now that this is going to be the backdrop as the 1960s space race, and they already tackled aliens, what's the MacGuffin going to be? Nixon's Watergate tapes?
Well, no, because that would be like a decade later, but still, I don't know. I mean, who fucking knows, man? We'll find out. We're all like, oh man, I don't know about this one. Like, we're not all gonna fucking go see it in the theater when it comes out. Please. Sitting there like a $19 fucking bucket of popcorn, like, this movie's gonna suck.
Oh yeah, no, trust me. It was one. I remember when I saw Crystal Skulls, I fell asleep in the theater because I went to when the midnight showings were actually at midnight, not at 6 o'clock in the afternoon.
That's fair then.
And I remember falling asleep in it. My buddy was like, elbowed me. He's like, dude, I'm like, dude, are they still in the jungle? They fired? Have they found the alien yet? Okay, no, I'm going back to sleep. Like, wake me when they see the alien.
It was so brutal. Like that whole fucking thing. Those ants, those goddamn CGI ants. I've never wanted to punch a fake thing so much in my life. Like, right in its fake face.
The fridge is what insulted my intelligence.
Right off the bat, dude. Right off the bat. And you know what the bitch of it was? Like, I'm such a fucking geek that the second I saw it, I was like, motherfucker, Spielberg, he finally fucking got it. He finally got his goddamn Do you know how long he's wanted to put a refrigerator with someone in it in a nuclear explosion? Since he was the producer on Back to the Future. That was the original idea for the time machine.
Yeah.
And he held on to it that long. He's like, oh, this is my chance. I'm going to put Indiana Jones in a fake.
That was the original idea for the time machine, yeah.
Well, no, that was Galen Zemeckis.
No. Spielberg executive produced Back to the Future. It was one of his. Yeah, he worked with the two of them. Spielberg is known for sneaking ideas into people's stories, and that's one he wanted to push. And then he decided, oh no, I'll keep that for myself. Once they started pushing back and saying, like, kids are going to kill themselves, Steven. They are going to murder each other because they're going to get stuck in refrigerators. And he was like, I'll just take that back and use it for later. Then, I mean, he does it all the time. He gives other people ideas. Even on the most recent the fucking Fright Night, the remake that they did, Steven Spielberg was a fucking consultant on that. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, Steven Spielberg's the one that told them to make sure that they used cross imagery, particularly in the beginning of the movie, and insisted that they go back to the shark teeth looking vampires because they were just gonna have him be like two fangs that come down and be like, "Blah, look at me, I'm the worst Buffy cosplay ever." He was like, "No, you need to make these things look brutal and shark-like. Just make it look like a CG version of the old shit." And they still didn't kind of listen to him, but you know, it's stuff like that. He goes around and people ask him to come in, and he's like gives them 3 ideas and he walks away. And he's like, "Oh, do you have anything better?" He's like, No, I'm keeping this one for myself. Nuke the Fridge. That was a good one to keep, Steve.
And that's why Spielberg's the last couple movies he's done, the one he's doing, I think this December. I mean, they've, they're not ET quality. I mean,
yeah. I mean, listen. Everybody's allowed to get older and try new things, spin their wheels a little bit. I'm very intrigued to see Steven Spielberg tackle a full-blown musical like West Side Story. I'm sure a large part of it, aside from him loving the musical and story himself, the modern day musical version of Romeo and Juliet, is the fact that technically speaking, it's something he's never tackled before. And one thing you can definitely say about Spielberg, no matter what it is he does like to try a couple of new things with each project he tackles. So I'll give him that. Apparently on Indiana Jones, though, the new thing he decided is to not tackle it. So maybe for the best. Who knows? People seem to really like James Mangold. That's the director of it. I mean, he did. All I know off the top of my head is the Wolverine and Logan. Do you guys know what else he's done?
No.
I
know that Mads Mikkelsen's supposed to be the villain, which piqued me interest. So,
and also in the least surprising move of the day. I mean, for Christ's sake, Mads Mikkelsen is a fucking villain in a movie. Who'd have thunk
him
it?
And Mark Strong. And Mark Strong
for real. Like, oh, Mark Strong's in this. There's a bad guy. What? He's the bad guy. Just trust me, he's the bad guy. 90 minutes in, I fucking told you he was the bad guy. Oh my god, he was the one trying to take out Sherlock the whole time.
Oh, that's a good movie.
I know, but even still, like Mads Mikkelsen being it's like, what's the one thing we've seen him be a good guy in? Fucking Rogue One or Rouge One, depending on who's typing it on the internet. But I will say, like, he's an excellent actor. So I can't wait to see how he plays a Nazi scientist. That I will, it makes sense if he's going to be playing a former Nazi scientist helping NASA, because that's what, like, they all those fucking rocket scientists from Germany did. They all came over. I mean, Werner von Braun was the guy that headed the fucking rocket program for America. Werner von Braun, yeah, he sounds like he's from Illinois, right?
Well, no. Well, the good thing about that too, like, if it is, again, it's Nazis and it's a post World War II, you're gonna go to like Buenos Aires, you're gonna go about down to like
Brazil.
down to Brazil. You're gonna, it'll be a little bit more globe trotting than New Haven to
Hartford.
Austin.
New Haven to Providence. Oh, check out this badass over here.
They went from Nevada to New Haven to like Mexico.
Yeah.
They crossed like 4 time zones. The trip was so short when they tried to do on the map on the little map on the line of the map. It was like 1 frame, and they're like, oh yeah, no, there's nonstop flights now, so we don't have to like stop at every little port.
It looks like we're gonna have to travel by my least favorite means, red line.
So, the Warner Brothers and Discovery's their crossover. They revealed the title called Warner Brothers Discovery. So, from what I understand, the Shield is gone.
It does seem to be the case. Super fucking lame.
People are burying the logo though.
I don't think that's going to be the permanent. I think for motion pictures, it's still going to be the Warner Brothers.
Warner Brothers.
It's too iconic of a logo. Yeah.
Because,
it's the same thing. It's the same thing with the Lion and MGM. Even though Amazon bought MGM, they're still going to use the MGM Lion. And the same thing with, like, we haven't seen it yet. I think there's still Fox movies out there. Disney's releasing Fox properties, and it's still the Fox logo.
Yeah,
iconic
Studios or something like that.
Yeah,
Fox Studios.
Iconic logos, and they're not going to get rid of it because of nostalgia. I mean, look.
Well, they also need people to understand the difference between certain movies. Like, if you see Disney in front of a movie, you have a particular type of movie in mind. So
it's going to be something bad.
And it's not just like make it easy for people because people are stupid, but more to the point, like, make it easy for, and I know this might sound silly, but make it easy for parents. Because if you go something that is Disney, then it's probably okay for your kid to see. But if you're going to see something from Fox, maybe not so much.
Well, and that's what it used to be too back in the 90s and 2000s. It was Hollywood Pictures was was owned by Disney, so it wasn't Touchstone. And those were where they kind of threw those PG-13 R movies out there just so, out of their studios. But you could say the same thing about Dimension Film, going back down that line of to know what you were getting into. It's still owned by Miramax, but if Dimension was doing it, it's going to be more R-rated, more risky, not as upfront. And that was the whole thing with New Line too for a while. Was like, oh, it's a New Line picture, so it's going to be a little, risque. What their track record is. But for me, the one studio that kind of came out of nowhere, I'm like, when did TriStar and Orion come back? Like, I think it was like 15 years where they were like non-existent.
I did the same thing. It was like last year. I was like, did I just fucking see Orion? What the fuck? And then then the TriStar logo popped up on something. I was like, what the fuck?
When I saw it in the Orion logo in the theater, I forget what the movie was. I think it was The Boy or something. I was like, oh my God, it's great to see this logo again. I remember seeing it attached to RoboCop and Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. It was great to see it on Bill and Ted 3, by the way.
One of my favorite things about Orion was always on the commentary for UHF by Weird Al and Jay Levy, who directed it and also is his manager. And it starts off and Weird Al just goes to the tune of the opening of Orion's logo. He goes, Orion is bankrupt. Every time I've ever seen the logo since I heard that commentary, that's what pops in my head. And when I was sitting in the theater and I saw Orion pop up, the very first thing I hear is Weird Al just go, Orion. Oh, shit that keeps me amused. And the worst part about it is, like, I start giggling like a crack fiend to myself about it while my wife is literally right next to me having no idea what just happened in my head. So then, like, I got to explain this whole thing to her, and she's like, oh, I'm so glad I said yes when he asked me to marry him.
And then, so another big thing that was dropped this week too was the reboot of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, with Seth Rogen with the date and stuff like that. So my question is to you guys, and I actually watched TMNT Sunday with my little guys, and
the hold on, you mean which
the animated
iteration? Okay, so the animated movie.
Yeah, from like
Okay.
07. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Which again wasn't terrible. I thought it wasn't like
It was
I didn't
all
mind
right.
animation. It was good. It was like it's a Turtles movie. Like I don't expect much out of. I don't expect deep plot like the first Turtles movie. But for me, it's one of those things like, what do you think we're gonna expect out of this? Are we gonna get something that's gonna be on par with like kids, or is it gonna be more on par with like I always go back to Turtles 1, which was kind of really like story driven. It was very much more like the comics. Or you think we're going to get something super campy like the second one? Like that's always the dividing line.
Honestly, go ahead, Steve. Go ahead.
No, I thought the third one was more campy, and the second one was kind of just
the
like
third one didn't even make it a theater. So
third one was in theaters. Yep.
Oh, that sucks.
But I think I agree with you, James. It'll probably go the way of the second one, and because nothing can compare to the first. So,
honestly, I don't. It's going to be very difficult. It's an uphill battle, no matter what you're looking at. What I think doesn't necessarily work for the production, and I feel kind of shitty saying it, is the fact that it's Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg doing it. I had mentioned earlier that I've read a lot of these comics that a lot of these properties are being based off of now, these adaptations, and Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg, they also they adapted Preacher on AMC and absolutely massacred it. It was fucking horrendous, and it's like they took little bits from the story as they went along and just threw it all together in a blender and like, see, look, it's Preacher. It's all the things you know from Preacher. It's like, yeah, kind of, but not in the right order and none of the same story beats. You basically just put the characters with the same names in a completely weird parallel story that's not the same fucking thing. And The Boys is kind of the same thing. Like, I don't mind the show The Boys. Like, I enjoy it for what it is, but it's so far removed from what that comic book story is. The story by Garth Ennis is like, honestly, it kicks the shit out of what they're doing on Amazon. And but I mean, I've reconciled that. A lot of people dig the show because they don't know the comic, and that's fine. I still watch it with my wife when it premieres and whatnot. It's cool, but the only thing he's gotten right for the most part is Invincible. They had such a good framework to start from. The comic is damn near perfect, that to go against any of that, like to fuck it up, you would have to go out of your way to do it. And I just don't think that that's something that they were going to be allowed to do. However, with TMNT, there's so many people that don't genuinely care about that property to protect it at all, that they can more than likely walk into it and just throw the craziest fucking ideas out. And the people like Nickelodeon and all that bullshit would be like, yeah, do that. That's really cool. That's different. Let's do that. And just because it's different doesn't mean it's good. You know what I mean? Like, we need something that's true to the characters and stories. You can give us a new story, but it shouldn't go against what we know from decades of exposure to these characters.
So the question then turns into animated or live action, because I think that's still
animated.
I think animated is probably the best course of action at this point.
Second question. Again, these are quick lightning round questions. Is it going to be established? They're already established, or origin story?
Established.
Okay.
They've attempted origin many times before. They attempted it in '87, succeeded. They attempted it in 2010 with Bruckheimer, failed. So,
all right. And the last question is, who's the bad guy?
Shredder.
Is it Shredder, or is it Shredder with Krang?
Oh man.
And then is there again? It's one of those questions. It's an interesting question because
it's gonna be Shredder. It's probably gonna really try to steep itself a bit more into the actual Foot Clan stuff. Yeah. I would imagine. Try to get a bit of a Daredevil hand feel going on. Where the tricky thing too is, I don't know if either one of you guys watched the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle series that was on from like 2014 to 2018 or 2019 on Nickelodeon. That was an excellent series, and it very, very deftly and cleverly combined all the different iterations of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles under the auspices of this new show. So even though it was them starting off, they cherry picked from each iteration some of the best stuff about it, and it overall became even greater than the sum of its parts.
Well, I remember there's a scene in one of the episodes where they had the 80s turtles come over.
Yeah, absolutely.
Paulson is the characters on both shows, and they made a joke being like, "You sound familiar, like you sound."
Yeah, Rob Paulson's the voice of Donatello in the 2014 show, where he was the voice of Raphael in the 80s cartoon. But yeah, like it was an excellent show, but they really took a look at what worked over the years, and they threw it in there, and they worked Krang into the storyline in a very smart and organic way, and I to just throw a character like that at the audience for a lot of people who, especially kids who might not necessarily know who Krang is because of like the other movies that have come out more recently and what have you, that would probably be folly. If anything, make your movie set up Shredder, do like 2 movies like that, and have like 1 or 2 more movies where you have like the big crazy Dimension X bullshit happen. But if they're gonna try to compete with what the storyline of the show was, they might find themselves in the lurch.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, this is another fantastic episode of The Dorkening. So with that, we're gonna go around the table like we always do, but we definitely want to give a shout out to Leo if he is watching. I hope we didn't butcher the show too much for you, even though I love Leo. He just
All right, okay,
yeah, no, Reddit.
Yeah.
I saw that Reddit, and that's what happened.
I don't know
with
about you
that,
guys, but I saw this recently.
Yep. Well, and here's a transition, and I'm going to throw it out the window. So Leo, we love you. We miss you. We hope you have a speedy recovery. Hopefully he'll be back on the show next week. Definitely, comment in the comments below. Get well, Leo, whatever. But we're gonna start off with Brennan. Where can people find you?
Come on over to the Powers Combined group on Facebook. Number one rule there is don't be a jerk. We do a lot of fun, geeky stuff. You can follow me on Twitter at Brandon's Powers and on Instagram at This Brandon Has Powers. And I'm here every Wednesday.
And don't forget the fantastic hashtag of the day.
Yes, spunk.
Steven.
Super Retro Throwback Reviews on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can follow both my shows, CSI The Vegas Files, and our primary show, Super Retro Throwback Reviews The Audio Files, on the Dorkening Podcast Network and all major podcasts and distributors. Check out our Patreon. Lots of incentives for you, whether it be $1 or $3. There's so many incentives for you. We just put up a poll for you to check out. You can decide what top 10 you want us to do next. It's either the top 10 boneheaded Hollywood decisions or the top 10 sequels that aren't as bad as everyone says. So become a backer. And
sequels. Can we get a Pippin autograph in that little the perks for a Patreon?
Yes, maybe.
With little paw print.
You can also find me here every Wednesday on the Dorkening. And Leo, I hope you get better. Also, if you're looking for a good song, check out the album Dr. Feelgood by Motley Crue, track 5.
There you go. Steven, are you looking forward to the new CSI coming out this fall?
Yes. Actually, we did a bonus episode for that. It's our most recent episode on CSI, so check that out. That's on the Dorkening Podcast Network as well.
And I'm James. I am here most Wednesdays until my little bundle of joy shows up. Again, like we said, Leo, feel better, get back. I am the monkey behind the keyboard today, but you can find me also on It's Go Time with Jane and James. We just dropped our episode earlier this past week where we talked about our fantastic children, as well as the NBA and NHL playoffs are ongoing. We're actually recording tomorrow, and that episode should drop over the weekend as well. But also come here to thedorkening.com for all your podcast needs. 30 shows are on it, including super retro throwback reviews. Wow, yeah. As well as the loudest sports show ever. It's Go Time. Throwdown Thursdays. There's a ton of shows out there ranging from horror to pop culture to sports to films, all that stuff. So definitely check them out, but also go to Deadly Grounds Coffee, deadlygrounds.com for all your coffee needs. Like always, all their shipping, if your orders are $50 or more, it is free shipping. They are small businesses, but as conventions are starting to open up, that is no reason not to go to their website to get the goodies from there. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we wish you a fond farewell. And with that, again, Leo, feel better. Get in the comments below when you're watching this, definitely put hashtag get well Leo. Or, of course, as we said, spunk.
Spunk!
Have a good night.
Get better, Leo.